Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place where we discuss all things USMNT y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. Joining me once again is my co-host, Tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, what's good, man? Feeling better?
Hey, dude, I'm feeling slightly better. I think I look slightly better, but at this point in time, dude, it's been so many days that I'm not even sure if I'm feeling better. I'm just trying to cheer up myself.
Dang. Just a placebo for you now at this point.
Yeah,
You feel you're slightly getting better? Oh, man. Well, hope you get better soon, man, because that sucks.
thank you,
Um,
bro.
this episode, man, hopefully something to cheer you up. I don't think it'll make you sick like we're used to with Triple G and his roster drops. But Triple G today dropped his roster for the October friendlies. For those of you who do not recall, USMNT USA will be playing 2 friendlies in October. On the 14th, they're going to be playing Germany in Rentschler Field in East Hartford, Connecticut. And then on the 17th, they'll be playing Ghana in Nashville, Tennessee. So the same opponents that Mexico's going to be playing. It just flip-flop the dates. So USMNT opens up against Ghana and then closes on the 17th opens up against Germany and closes against Ghana. Gregg Berhalter released his roster for these October friendlies now. And I know me and you were kind of debating off screen before a couple weeks ago. What was he going to bring, right? A European-based team or an MLS-based team or a mixed? I think we were kind of settled on it's probably going to be a mixed team just because it's going to be in the, the MLS teams are pushing for playoffs, probably don't want to release their team or their players. And, this is going to be a fecha FIFA. So, they'll be able to get their players from Europe to come into the camp, right? So what ended up happening was I would say mainly 90%, maybe more, 90% at least European-based team. So surprise there from Triple G, right? Somebody that we're used to being let down on some rosters where he tends to have a big variety of MLS and European teams when he's playing decent opposition. I think we
Yeah,
both like to see all
yeah.
European teams versus opposition like Germany and Ghana, right? Sorry, go for it.
No, no worries, man. I was gonna say very unlike Triple G, I guess, in a way.
Yeah,
I'm not complaining. This is not a complaint. I'm just saying it's essentially not following his always, I guess.
right. Yeah, maybe he realized people were not too big on him and not huge fans of his call-ups, and he was like, "Man, this is my second tenure. Can't mess this up," and just decided to bring his European legion to most of these games. What's next? Assuming it falls in the pattern of every year for the USMNT. The next time we'll see the USMNT and Triple G will be at Camp Cupcake. So in January, I believe. I don't think there's any November or December friendlies. There might be a December game, but I don't think so. But it might be Camp Cupcake next time. So we might see a MLS squad next time we see the USMNT. But yeah, anyway, man, let's get into it. Enough talk. Triple G's roster. For someone that normally brings 3 goalkeepers, this time around he brought 2 goalkeepers. Matt Turner, Nottingham Forest, 33 caps with the USMNT. I think undisputed. We always say he's undisputed goalkeeper at this point, and probably the guy that'll play both matches. And then Ethan Horvath, also Nottingham Forest, 9 caps for the USMNT. No surprises there. Not really going to waste much time there. Stefan's still injured. So let's get into defenders where there is some surprises here and, some omissions and some, nice inclusions. So defenders real quick, I'll read them off and then we'll kind of digest what we see here. Cameron Carter-Vickers is back. Wasn't in the September friendlies, but CCV is now back in the squad. Serginodest from PSV Eindhoven is back. The Juan Jones from New England Revolution. Christopher Lund from Palermo, who we saw for the first time last September, and he did well. He surprised us, and we mentioned we praised him in our 6 things we learned. So good to see him back. Timream, the old man Ream is back. Chris Richards from Crystal Palace is back. Miles Robinson from Atlanta United, one of the few MLSers that got called up. Joe Scally wraps up the defense. Quickly, just from those 8 that I called out, man, any surprises here in the list for you? Any omissions, you think?
I mean, it's a big surprise that Juan Jones. I don't know if I should say surprise, but I wasn't expecting that Juan Jones to be named here. I'm assuming, what's his position? Right back or center back?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess it's because of Anthony Robinson not being called up. But all in all, very strong defense here, man. I'm glad to see CCV back. It's nice to see him joining once again the USMNT because he's been having a good season with Celtic. Um, we also have Serginodest back, which arguably is having a a tough start at PSV. And one of my favorites too, Joe Scally. I'm a huge fan of him. While you might be losing some attacking prowess on him, because he's not as attacking or I guess as forward as Anthony Robinson, but he's a very strong defender, dude. So I think all in all, very good one. I saw something online, and maybe you can uh, add to this, but I saw some people saying that it might be time to stop calling up timream. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, this season in EPL, he's still starting, right? He's still there for Fulham, but he has been making a lot more mistakes. He's normally so consistent, and I've seen a couple Fulham matches where he's been responsible for a couple of the opposition goals. I think CCV, Cameron Carter-Vickers, is probably the future in that role with Chris Richards. But also, interestingly enough, Triple G mentioned in his press conference today that Mark McKenzie, who's also center back, is out with a broken toe, and he even mentioned John Brooks. He said he's still in the pool of contention, just hasn't been called up, but he's still. I don't know how many. If he was just saying this to caerle bien a todos, right? To be good with everybody, but he mentioned John Brooks to that he's still possibly it could be called up. John Brooks, who we know is playing really, really well, starting in the Bundesliga, and is having a really good season. He's still only 30 years old, which is pretty decent age for a center back. So I think center back might be one of the positions that the USMNT currently is strongest in.
Yeah, it's
Between Chris
stacked.
Richards, John Brooks, yeah, McKenzie, timream, Miles Robinson. They got a good a Zimmerman, a good stack there of possible call ups for sure. Um, you brought up serginodest, man. I think he's had some decent games for PSV and then some not so decent games. He's had a couple good games. So yeah, I agree with you. His curve has been like up and down for PSV, but I think for the USMNT he plays really well. Um, and I think they're definitely going to miss Jedi, man. But other than that, I think solid 8 defenders there all around, right?
Yeah, no questions asked, man. I think, as you mentioned, this is one of the areas. I think in general, right? Maybe with the exception of the left back position, but all in all, very good call up, and I think Triple G will have plenty of choices if he wants to mix things around between each match.
For sure. I think a lot of younger guys can get opportunities, definitely. Moving on to midfield, he brought 7 midfielders. This is going to be a big talking point here for one of these midfielders, but Johnny Cardoso from Internacional Brazil, who's had 7 caps, mainly this year to his name. Luca de la Torre with Celta Vigo, who's a really good Tyler Adams replacement. Leonard Maloney, who will be, I think, the first or the only person on this squad to earn their first cap or be called in and not having a cap before. He plays in Germany with a Heidenheim, or the worst German accent I've ever said. That's probably not even how you say it in German, but there you go. Weston McKennie, who had a tough start at Juventus this season, but man, he turned it around. Allegri has been praising him the last couple of weeks, and there's rumors that he's about to get an extension at Juventus based off his recent performances. He's been playing really, really well. Younes Musa, AC Milan, Malik Tillman with PSV, who had a couple decent games recently with PSV, and obviously had that missed the match a couple weeks ago due to oversleeping. And the shocking one here, or not shocking, but the one that we need to discuss, obviously, is gioreyna. He comes back finally under Triple G, almost a year after the whole World Cup, right? I mean, this is the first time they're going to pretty much be together in a camp since then. So what do you think of these midfielders, man?
First of all, Who the hell is Lerner Maloney, dude? I mean, I don't even recognize that German team. It must be one of the freshly promoted teams in Bundesliga, or maybe Bundesliga 2, if I'm not mistaken. But I
Yeah,
get
no,
that.
they play in the Bundesliga. Yeah, they got promoted last year.
Gotcha. So I mean, I know. I Again, this is not a complaint. We all know that Triple G's one of his strengths is recruiting, and I'm
Yeah,
glad that he's recruiting. But this is one of those. This is one of the players that you can probably cap somewhere, in a different month or different period of time. And I wonder if we're gonna start seeing, in the USMNT capping for the sake of capping players, right?
yeah,
Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure that he's a strong player, and he probably can prove to be a reliable substitute for any of the midfielders. But I just wish that the USMNT shirt doesn't cheapen uh, in the near future.
yeah. He's one of those dual nationals that had a American dad, German mom, was born in Germany, has represented youth 17 and youth 19 teams for Germany, but also represented the USMNT in the lower league in the lower youths. Yeah, somebody who's performing well in the Bundesliga, and I guess I don't think he'll start any of the games at all. He might come in for a quick cameo, if that. But yeah, I get what you're saying about maybe cheapening out by kind of it's like you're giving a shirt to everybody, right? Maybe if they don't even deserve it. But I think this guy deserved it a lot more than some previous players we've seen.
Oh, totally agreed. Yeah, especially
So
MLS players.
yeah, but so we'll see what he can do. Another one for the future. I guess he's only 23 years old. But the big talking point here, I don't think there was any other really big talking points other than Tyler Adams, picking up an injury after he had came back. He made his debut
Unlucky,
for
dude.
Bournemouth, and then yeah, he got another one. But the big one, obviously, gioreyna, according to pundits and other websites and sources, gioreyna and Triple G have since made up. I don't know if they're buddy buddies or just hey man, we're professionals. Let's move on. We'll be together in the camps. We'll respect each other. You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. Blah blah blah. But we'll respect each other. I don't know how close they are and how cool they are now, but they made up. They made up before the roster was released. Before I think a source I read was they made up like a month ago and put everything behind them. So Gioreyna's back. Someone who's struggling really bad with BVB, Borussia Dortmund, hasn't played at all this season. Has been 4 or 5 games, straight on the bench as an unused substitute. Somebody who's probably going to look for a move out of Borussia in January, but somebody that when plays with the USMT plays really well. So be interesting to see how Gioreyna and Triple G, play and work it out on the field.
Yeah, man, this is gonna be the morbo behind the USMNT for the next couple of call-ups. Yeah, I saw the same reports that you mentioned where they kind of sort of made up, but we don't really know as to what extent, right? I think this Triple G versus Arenas saga is not over yet. Um, I'm pretty sure they're gonna keep it professional, and he's gonna make use of you right now because he understands that he's probably one of the best or the most talented players he has on the roster. So it will be uh, it will be dumb from him to not use him. Uh, but at the same time, I think it also will require it will require, I think, in my view, more effort from Gio Reyna to prove that I don't want to say he's worthy of the opportunity to jump back, but to prove that he's maturing and becoming the leader the USMNT needs, right? Even though he's having a tough time at VVV, that he's able to come back to the USMNT and help his teammates to be the best version of themselves on the pitch.
Yeah, man, I agree. Time will tell how he adapts to that. He was someone that with that whole scandal was kind of really immature in it, right? I mean, obviously his parents were, but I think the way he handled things as well was pretty mature on his side. Not to say the Triple G side wasn't. I think everybody in that party was immature about it, but yeah, we'll just see how everything is handled here. Moving on to forwards, man. I don't think any real big surprises. There is one that I want to kind of highlight, maybe two. But he's bringing up six forwards: Brendan Aronson, Balogun, Kevin Paredes, Ricardo Pepi, Christian Pulisic, and Tim Weah. I think Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, Ricardo Pepi, Balogun really are no-brainers. Kevin Paredes, I think he's a good call-up. He's somebody that got his first cap last time, the Wolfsburg forward, and we highlighted him in our six things we learned, saying that he was one of the real big standouts from that September window and one for the future for sure. So it's good to see him back. And the real one that I want to kind of highlight here is Brendan Aronson, who's having a pessimo, horrible start to life at Union Berlin. I think he's gotten a red card. He's missed a couple sitters, and they've lost a couple games due to his missing sitters. So Brendan Aronson, I mean, maybe didn't deserve the call up, but I mean, who else do you bring at this point? I mean, Sendejas. I don't know who else do you have forward that's kind of at that level right now. I mean, I don't know. Not that Brendan Aronson is at a high level, but who's there to step up and replace him? Balogun, he's somebody that had that game where he missed two penalties, but since then, I think he's gone on and scoring two consecutive games. So he's back to, maybe it was just a fluke that game where he missed those two penalties, nerves or whatever. Ricardo Pepi scoring when he gets chances with PSV. He's still obviously on the bench behind the Jong. And Pulisic's playing and looking like a new man at AC Milan. What do you think of the forwards, man?
Again, I think with the exception of Brendan Aronson, all of them make sense. Man, I think we can agree and safely say that Brendan Aronson is el hijo de Triple G, right? He's his baby, dude. He's gonna call him up. He's one of those players, just like in El Tri, where the coach has his favorites, right? This is exact example of Triple G having playing favorites, calling him up, and to agree with your point, I don't think there's anyone else outside of Brendan Aronson, sorry, that is on that level. You can probably call Sendejas. Actually, Sendejas has been playing more than decent on the last few matches for America, and I think he will be a good replacement for Aronson. But other than that, it's going to be tough to find someone that is playing at that level, right? You can probably bring a Caballo Cabo, or you can probably bring Brandon Vasquez, who are constantly playing with their teams, but they aren't necessarily facing the same level of competition as Brendan Aronson, even though he's not playing that well. One that I want to mention, though, is Tim Weah. And it's because Tim Weah, while he is playing for Juventus and he's getting some game time,
Yeah.
he isn't necessarily settling down at Juventus as we thought he would.
Right.
And I was reading an article saying that one of the reasons why he's not settling so well at Juventus is because of Weston McKennie's performance.
Yeah.
The McKennie's performance is making Tim Weah, I guess, well, he's making the coach put Tim Weah in a position where he's not shining, right? He's been playing as a left wing back or as a left back in some cases, and while he's a strong player, right? He can adapt to those roles. That specific role isn't his best position.
Yeah, it's kind of how he was with Lille at the end of last season. The coach used him as a left wing or right wing back, and with very minor occurrences as a striker or a forward, which is where we know he excels, especially with the USMNT. And yeah, Weston McKennie is the reason why he starts many of the games on the bench.
Yeah.
Allegri has preferred and is preferring Weston McKennie right now. So we'll see if Weah can kind of earn a spot back at Juventus, but. Yeah, I mean, right now it's Weston McKennie that's keeping him on the bench. But I agree with you, man. That's well, I don't know how sharp he'll look for the USMNT since he's not playing that position day in day out over there at Juventus. So we'll see. That brings me into the next topic, kind of predicting the formation. I think we've kind of pretty much accepted that Triple G always goes to his 4-3-3 no matter what. We saw both games, Oman in September, Oman and Uzbekistan 4-3-3. Before that, back when he was in his first cycle of coach, he would try every once in a while a different formation, but he would always result back to 4-3-3. So I think it's a no-brainer. Matt Turner in the back. I think defender-wise, we'll probably see Serginodest and Joe Scally on the wings, and maybe timream and Chris Richards or Cameron Carter Vickers starting. Midfield, I think we'll see Weston McKennie, we'll see Yunus Musa, and we'll see gioreyna starting. And with maybe Malik Tillman making his way in there, maybe starting. Gioreyna isn't fit enough to go with the full 90 or start the full 90. And then the forwards, Tim, what were you saying? Maybe Tim Weah doesn't start there anymore, just because he hasn't played there a lot recently. I think Christian Pulisic, obviously, Balogun, and then who would be your last guy there? A Brendan Aronson that's not playing great, a Tim Weah that's not playing much, and if he does play, he doesn't play in that position, or a young one cap Kevin Paredes. So I don't know who's that third
Yeah,
forward.
that is a very good question, man. I think it's gonna be Tim Weah, right? Even though he's not necessarily playing every single week at that role, at that position. When you look at the rest of the roster, he's probably the one that gets the most play time, and that can actually fulfill that role, right? Because you're not gonna put Ricardo Pepi on the wing, uh, and you're not gonna place Kevin Paredes, who is an while we know that he's a great prospect, he is not a proven player for the USMNT just yet. And
Right.
between Brendan Adamson and Tim Weah, I'll go with Tim Weah all the way, baby.
Yeah, same here, man. I think he's the more consistent player for sure. Well, that's the lineup or the roster that Triple G has brought out for the matches against Germany and Ghana. Um, Definitely a very, very high quality roster. I think everybody that's seen it so far has rated it like maybe Berhalter's best roster. Granted, it's missing a couple key players here and there, right? Tyler Adams, where I don't even know if he's a guaranteed starter at this point. Missing Jedi Robinson, who is one of the guaranteed starters. Mark McKenzie, John Brooks, a couple here and there. But other than that, it is definitely one of his best and strongest lineups. Adrian, man, as we wrap this episode up, brother, where can our listeners find us?
Man, they can always find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, enter it on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at Puro Pinche Gol. We post stuff every now and then.
Yeah, and be sure to leave a comment below. What do you think of Triple G's current roster? Are you guys excited to see it as we are? Obviously, it's one of his strongest rosters. So let us know if there's anybody you think he missed out on, skipped out on, or that deserved a call, or somebody on this roster that you would have left home. Definitely like interacting with you guys there in the comments. And if you're not a subscriber yet, be sure to subscribe to Puro Pinche Gol. We like to cover USMNT, La Selección Mexicana, everything from our Mexican American side of perspective here, from both sides of the Rio Grande River, Rio Bravo there. So make sure to come join the PPG fam and leave comments and interact with us for sure. Adrian, man, another great episode with you, brother. I'll see you in the next one.
Always a pleasure, my friend. Take it easy.
Likewise, man. See ya.